Hello and welcome back to Fear the Waves Inside the Wave. This is Isaac Popper, one of your co-hosts, here with Reggie Brown. Reggie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you, Reggie. Appreciate you asking. Reggie, you actually graduated with me in May, and you're here for a fifth year now as a master's student. What did you graduate with? What degree did you graduate with?
I graduated with my real estate degree.
That's awesome. Very impressive. It's a bit cold today, at least in my opinion. Fall weather's here in the 60s. Did you think practice was cold this morning? Feel a little bit different?
Compared to yesterday, yeah, totally. Yesterday I was like drenched, and today I barely broke a sweat. So it was pretty pretty breezy. And we in New Orleans, so yeah, it's pretty different.
Yeah,
Uh,
it dropped about 20, 25 degrees.
yeah.
Did that affect the play at all, or back to work, same old for you guys?
Nah, back to work, same old, same old. A couple people had sleeves on, but still got to get on. Get to the grind every day.
Who was rocking the long sleeves today, like a Matthew Judon?
Yeah, I think Yule had his sleeves on today. Yeah, Yule and Mario.
It'll warm up a little bit for Saturday's game. It should be great weather. If you don't already have tickets, make sure to buy the tickets and see this Green Wave team, one of the top teams in the country. But it would be fun if we see a long sleeve Keith Brown or Mario Williams.
Yeah, facts.
How's Alex doing, your tight end partner?
Alex doing great. He's doing good. Working hard every day. Going at it.
Awesome. In good spirits?
Yeah, he's always in great spirits. A great guy right there.
I agree with that. And how about Shaz? I believe I saw him out on the field today.
Oh yeah, Shaz is out there today. I felt like I saw a ghost today. Honestly, I ain't seen Shaz in a minute. Strap on his pads. Battling. With his endeavors and everything. Working hard, trying to get back on the field.
First day back for him today?
Yeah.
Awesome. So today's Wednesday. The last two Wednesdays, I interviewed Gerard Henderson. We had snowballs together. And then last week on Wednesday, we did StreamYard like this with Jamari McClure. Definitely check those two podcasts out. Excuse me, if you haven't already on YouTube or however you get your podcast. I assume there were no victory snowballs today, considering it was a bye week, but I think you guys deserve them based on how bad you beat UAB the previous Saturday.
Facts.
Speaking of New Orleans food, what is your favorite New Orleans food?
Um, I can say my favorite New Orleans food, like during Thanksgiving, they do like the stuffed bell peppers. I really kind of like those, and I can say like beignets. Real
Okay.
big fan of beignets.
Plain beignets or any flavored beignets?
You ever had a beignet donut?
No.
Yeah, beignet donut. Check those out.
All right, I'll have to try it.
Real life.
So, changing topics a little bit, your father was a first round pick by Detroit, for those listening at home who aren't aware. How's your relationship with your dad?
It's real tight. I can say he was he's a real big role model. Coming up, and he was always hard on me. He pushed me. So I'll be prepared for the next level. If anything, coaches are hard on you and everything, and it was really kind of like I lived with a coach. But as my father, he coached me. He coached me some, growing up too, and he always kept it real with me. Always told me, when I wasn't going hard enough, what to do, this and that. Little things, in order for me to, to succeed. You know.
That's wonderful. Considering that your father suffered a spinal cord injury that left him paralyzed, why do you still play the game?
Um. Uh. You know. Sometimes I don't really tend to think about how he got hurt. So like, and and if it was like, if it was too bad, or if he was, scared enough or didn't want me to play, he could have stopped. He could have told me, choose another sport, or focus on something else. But and
Do you play for him?
yeah, I played for him. I played for him like little league, so it was really like coming up, and he had to learn. He learned how to walk again and everything. He just doesn't have too much feeling in his hands, or like so. He can still walk and everything. So it's just really just I didn't really grow up with a fear of football. So just from seeing what happened to him.
Your mother also played sports at Texas A&M. Did she also inspire you to be a college athlete?
Yeah, that's where if anything, I think I'm more like navigate, or like I have a like I think I'm closer with my mother. I think I can relate to my mom more, like from like personality standpoint and everything. And she was like, she's a big she's a big reason, of why, where I am today, and how competitive I am, and just growing up with both of them in the household, I just had to be an athlete. It wasn't, you feel me? It was just, it's in the family.
Yeah, definitely. I hear there's a lot of mama's boys on the team.
Facts.
Reggie, was it a no-brainer to stay with the Wave over this offseason?
Um, it was a no-brainer. Well, it was more or less, it was in the air. Like my decision was more or less in the air. Then when, as the new staff came in and I got to build these relationships with my new teammates, and I got to feel the vibe of, of the new staff and everybody coming in, it didn't take me too long to really click in and really just like stay, want to be with this staff, just want to be with this team. It didn't really take me that long to really make my decision.
That's great. That's been a theme of this podcast. I've asked a lot of players about their decisions, and with you, you graduated, so you're done with college, but you get this fifth year and a new staff's coming in. Most players across the country don't really stay at a school for a fifth year after they already graduated and a new staff. But John Sumrall and the whole staff has been a group that this team really wanted to work with. How have you enjoyed playing under Coach Sumrall?
Um, Honestly, it's like, in a sense, like a dream come true. Honestly, like I've been, these last 4 to 5 years, it's really just been, a process, try to really get on the field and really, get my opportunity. And I just feel like, with this new staff coming in, I can really be myself in a sense, or like I didn't have to, like, it was a fresh slate. And you feel me? I don't feel like the first thing he really said that really just like stuck to me was, I'm here to coach and I'm not here to judge. You feel me? Like when he said that, that's when it's like it really hit me differently. Like, I was like, yeah, I want to play for him. This the
Love
guy I
that.
want to. This the guy I want to battle with on Saturdays.
We love to hear that. A quick story of my own. When we were doing our Inside the Wave preview for offense, I said, I'm not sure who the tight end two is going to be and replace Chris Carter. And I actually talked a little bit more about Anthony Miller than I did yourself. And I went to practice over the summer and fall camp a few times. And the first day I went, I'd asked Mike Arata, who's the tight end two this year. Chris Carter was pretty good. I know Reggie could block, but I've never really seen him catch. He wasn't really used in the passing game his first 4 years here. And he said, well, wait till you see Reggie catch. And I said, okay. And then I kept going to practice, and I'm like, well, Reggie doesn't drop the ball, and he's open in fall camp. And sure enough, you had a pair of exciting touchdowns earlier this season, and already more yards than you did 6 games through the season, halfway through the regular season, than you did in any of your other 4 seasons. So it's been great watching you out there, and not only in the passing game, but also in the blocking game. You have not only had an impact on offense, but also on special teams too. I believe that you've had a big part in some of these big play Ray touchdowns. Am I wrong?
Oh yeah, I'm out there, but that's all five back there. he works so hard. You know, it's just that's just God's timing with that. Five and that's another guy. He's been waiting for his opportunity too. I talked to him a lot. We talked over the summer about what we wanted to do, our plans, and like just to take that next step. In our careers.
Nice. You were actually one of 4 players last season to play in all 14 games, but that was really my stat for you. So it's nice to be able to see you score some touchdowns and be on the board in a bigger way this season.
So
Last year it was you, Bauman, Mackay, and Shedro Lewis. For you and 3 key players from last year's successful season, and then Alex and Mackay, obviously 2 other big pieces this season. Let's talk briefly about Rice and preview this Saturday's game. You're a Houston native and actually went to a high school that your parents founded. How far did you grow up from Rice? And then what makes the high school unique?
um, I think I'm about like 7 minutes from Rice.
Driving?
7, 8.
So that's almost walkable.
Yeah, like really, like I'm not too far, like, cause I live by like U of H, like I can like jog to U of H, so like I don't really live too far from anything. I live like right in the inner city, so that's not really too far. And what makes my mom's school unique, it's based on what your plan is after your sport. Like, you feel me, one day you got to take off your cleats, you got to hang the cleats up, the ball gonna stop bouncing, the ball gonna stop rolling. So my mom's school is based off what are you gonna do after. So so speaking on my dad, my dad was paralyzed, broke his neck, and so what was he gonna do after that? So like it's just gets athletes prepared for what if you don't make the league, what if, feel me, just you don't want to think about that, but what if.
Yeah, I'm all for that. And I think that Tulane is really the perfect university for that. John Sommerall and others talk about it being a 40-year decision. Lisa Stockton, the women's basketball coach of 30 years, always talks about how it's about the classroom as well as the court. So it sounds like you ended up at a good spot, and that's great what your mother and father have been working on. Why was the Rice game so close last year? 30-28, and I was sweating. I don't know if you were.
um I can't really recall why the game was so close last year, because that was really like middle of the season.
Pratt
And
had 300 yards, Mackay had 150, but not a
yeah,
ton of touchdowns, and Rice didn't go away. In the second half, they really made a comeback.
yeah, I can't really recall like just the reason of why, but we just gotta stay in it, don't get on them fast, run the ball, and just stay ahead. Don't wave, don't beat the wave, don't beat ourselves. And, I feel like you know they'll take care of everything we need to take care of.
Good. Has there been a nice focus this week during the bye about Wave not being themselves?
Yes, sir. Well, wave, you can't, wave don't beat the wave anytime. You never want to beat yourself.
Of course. Any linebackers scare you this week, or it's going to be a big day for Reggie Brown?
Any who?
Any linebackers on Rice, or what? How does the game plan look?
Um, honestly, I'm gonna keep it. I never like to lie or anything, but I don't really fear anybody. When it comes out, standing on the field, it's just really mano y mano, 1-on-1.
Just the
Let's see.
wave. Fear the wave.
Yeah, fear the wave.
Bauman actually had a career high 5 catches, but only on 24 yards last year against Rice. So we'll see if maybe you get a few more catches than you're used to, even if in short yardage. He also had a touchdown that game, so hopefully we get to see you in the end zone one more time, or at least one more time. Reggie, thanks so much for joining us. Before you leave, do you have any NIL opportunities you want to promote?
I don't really have any NIL opportunities I want to promote, but I do have some apparel that I want to promote. It's my close friend back home. This is his apparel. It's Collective the brand. So y'all go shop that.
Awesome, Reggie. Thanks so much for joining Inside the Wave, and we're looking forward to seeing you play against Rice on Saturday.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
That was Reggie Brown, your tight end 2 of the Tulane Green Wave, and tight end 1 if Alex Bauman is sidelined for some time this season. Reggie had a 90 PFF grade against ULL. He had a 33-yard touchdown in that game, as well as some great blocking. He was an honorable mention last week for me in iPop's top players against UAB. He had a touchdown in back-to-back games earlier this year between Oklahoma and ULL after having only one in his first 4 years. This coaching staff has utilized him as a receiver more than other offensive coordinators have. And his first 2 career touchdowns, including the one against Oklahoma, came against ranked opponents. Interestingly enough, his first touchdown was a 2-yard touchdown versus UCF in the Cotton Bowl season, when he was primarily used as a blocker. The second attempt of Mensa's career was complete to Reggie Brown. Reggie has played an important part in this team after being an iPop's top players honorable mention last season. We talked about it a little bit already earlier, but last year versus Rice, Tulane was up 27-7 with 23 minutes left to play, and then only had a field goal in the final quarter and a half, while Rice scored 3 touchdowns to cut it to 30-28. If you remember, we had that weird play where Michael Pratt threw it up in the end zone as time expired in order to get the clock to triple zeros. Makai had a big run to start that game. Yoel Keith had his first Tulane touchdown. And Shoddy took down Gabe Taylor on a Rice interception, which started to get Rice back in the game. But it was Devin Deal who blew up the final play and had a sack in that game. Our only sack of the game. DJ Douglas had an interception. And as I mentioned earlier, Bauman had a career-high 5 catches. So we'll see if Reggie or maybe Anthony Miller, who hasn't been too involved in the offense this year, gets involved more this week. Last year, Rice had Christian McCaffrey's brother, Luke McCaffrey, who was effective in the slot and scored a touchdown on Cam Pettisclo, their final touchdown in the game on a zone play, one of Cam's only few rare touchdown allowed by Cam Pettisclo last season, but it did come in the zone. So let's dive back into the analytics for this Saturday's game versus Rice. Game on Paper, which has loved Tulane all this year after not loving Tulane last season, has Tulane in the top 10 after their bye in EPA per play, 9th with 0.34 expected points added per play, putting yards into the context of points. And they're also top 10 in available yards percentage, a concept from Brian Fremal. You can check that out on bcftoys.com and the game on paper on gameonpaper.com/CFB. Tulane is 36th in the country in yards per play and 32nd in success percentage, 8th in yards in EPA per pass, 12th on early downs EPA per play, 23rd on 3rd and 4th down success, and surprisingly 64th in the country in EPA per rush, with not too many explosive plays. Tulane, according to net EPA per play, is 9th in the country, 8th in offense, and 8th in defense. One of the few teams that are top 10 in the country in both metrics. CFB Graphs, or collegefootballinsiders.com by Parker Fleming, actually likes Tulane less. They have Tulane as 24th in EPA margin, 30th in offense, 29th in defense, a drastic difference from being top 10 on game on paper. However, they also like Rice less as well. Game on paper has Rice 80th in EPA per play, 103rd in offense, 53rd in defense. So pretty decent in defense, but bad in offense, and a 0.00 net EPA per play. So about an average team, but they have them 106th in EPA margin on College Football Insiders, 112th on defense, or on offense, 94th on defense, minus 0.15 EPA margin, which puts Rice with an under 3% winning percentage. This believes that Tulane has a 97.13% chance to win, which I wholeheartedly agree with. The projected score, according to the analytics, is 43-18. For my score prediction, I do like this a lot. I think that after the bye week and putting up 71 points last game, Tulane does cool off a little bit. So I'll give Tulane 6 touchdowns here. So that's 42 points and a field goal. I'll say Tulane puts up 45 again, maybe 42. I'll say Tulane 44-13, an even bigger margin of victory than the analytics predict, which is 43-18. I'll go with 44-13. Should be a good one on Saturday. Tulane not only have the most pick sixes in the nation, but also lead the country in defensive touchdowns after their bye week. They have the most defensive plus special teams touchdowns in the country. And then on the flip side, their offense has been hot and doing well in the turnover game as well, because they haven't committed a turnover for 3 straight games. Even if you include the wraparound from the end of one season to the start of the next, Tulane has not had a 3-game stretch without a turnover, committing a turnover, interception, fumble, since 1998, the undefeated season, when they went 23 straight quarters, 5 straight games without committing a turnover to end the undefeated season. And I believe it was 24 straight quarters, wrapping around to the 1999 season when Patrick Ramsey took over from the great Sean King. Kept Sean King at homecoming during Wave Weekend, who will be alongside Gabe Feldman as a panelist for Wave Weekend when Tulane hosts Temple. This week, Tulane is back on the plus for a second straight week. This is very rare for Tulane to play back-to-back games on ESPN Plus. However, next week will be on national TV again. However, at an early time slot. This week at home, nice weather, 2:30 game local time. Next week, 11 a.m. again, which will be the 5th time this season. Navy is also at 11 a.m. in November, so that'll be 6, exactly half of the regular season, which doubles the amount of early time slots, noon or earlier, as last season. Doubles last season's 14-game schedule count of 3 games at the early time slot. This year, 6 are already scheduled. Tulane's game versus Rice, it marks back-to-back on ESPN Plus for the first time since 2022 non-conference play, when Tulane played Southern Miss and then at Kansas State, believe it or not, on ESPN Plus. I was surprised at the time that it was on ESPN Plus, but I knew Tulane was coming off a 2-10 season with Hurricane Ida. Nick Anderson and Dorian Williams said it'd be a great season the year after, and boy, were they right, with a conference championship in 2022. And then we barely had any ESPN Plus games after that until the last 2 weeks. However, in part, it's because Tulane is blowing out their opponents. It's not a good game after even the first quarter. So obviously we're tuning in. A lot of our big fans here, loyal listeners of the podcast, will stay through all 4 quarters, but the national viewers are not necessarily needing to see Tulane hit 60 and 70 points when UAB has only scored a touchdown or so, maybe 2 or maybe 3. But if Tulane's up 30, 40 points, it's a blowout. Big play Ray was named to the 15-man Jet Award midseason watch list. He'll be considered for the honor for the most outstanding return specialist in college football. No other team has multiple kickoff return touchdowns this season, and he leads the country in average yards. I know it's an extremely small sample of returns, just 6, due to Shoddy Clayton Johnson being the returner to start the season, and teams not wanting to give Ray a chance to return the ball. As he has returned a third of his returns, Ray is averaging 44.7 yards per return. The next best in FBS is Texas Tech's Dre McCray, who's averaging 34.9 yards on a small sample of 8 returns. The margin between Ray Pleasant and Dre McCray in second is the same gap as Shoddy Clayton Johnson and Dre McCray, as Shoddy Clayton Johnson is 20th in the country, but the amount of yards that separates the average between Dre McCray in second and Shoddy in 20th is the same as Ray in first and McCray in second. Also, one last news and notes to cover is that Lawrence Keys is joining Fear the Wave as our community outreach director. So stay tuned for what Lawrence Keys is up to with Fear the Wave. Keys, as most know, had 600 yards and 7 touchdowns last season before missing the final 4 games with a foot injury. He was with the Bills over the spring, and fans will also remember his 43-yard touchdown in the American Conference Championship game. So if you just tuned in to the second half, make sure to check out the first half of our Rice preview where Reggie Brown sat down with me to discuss his background, his 5 years here at Tulane, as well as the upcoming game on Saturday. And thank you so much for listening. This was Fear the Waves Inside the Wave. I'm Isaac Popper, and we'll see you on Saturday.